hey guys, this week's episode was a doozy.
It was intense, I would say.
It definitely was. We got some live music again. Well, Zoom call live music.
Yep.
Coming your way in this episode. We had Will Ardell from, where did he say he was? Kenniston, which is south of Saskatoon.
Yeah.
He's been in the music scene for over a decade now.
Yeah, a while.
You guys might have heard of him, and he's been recording, with Aspen at Skull Creek Studios.
Yep.
He just recently was Sask Music's featured music video a couple of days ago, or I guess now would be last week. So you might have caught that. What was the name of that song again? Highway to the Sun.
Yeah.
You guys, please, after this episode, go check out that video. It's very well done. So shout out.
Don't leave before you like this video and hit subscribe to our channel.
Right.
Because that helps us out. Not financially or anything, but
the more of you guys that are doing that, the more chance is of us doing this again and again and again, are out there, man. We're loving doing this. It's nothing for you guys. Just click the button, man. It doesn't cost anything. Just please do it. Doesn't pay us any money, but it is with that algorithm. And if you can find somebody to explain that to you, great. Go, because I can't explain it to you. Just I know it works. It helps. So please do that. And let's put in a little treasure hunt for the listeners out there. So if you can tell us what kind of job Will does when he's not doing music, put that in the comments, you guys, and then we know that you're legitimately watching this show. That'd be great. Little test to you out there. So yeah, we'll dive right into it. Enjoy, guys.
Hi, this is Will Ardell, and you're watching episode 71 of the Funky Moose Records Sit Down Podcast.
This episode is brought to you by M3 is 3D. They make 3D printed headphone stands in the shape of famous people like Einstein. There is one in the mail for us that is Elon Musk.
Yeah, as soon as we get it, guys, you'll see that'll be on the desk like permanently.
Yeah,
for sure. And we'll let you know like how it is.
Yeah, so if you go to m3is3d.com,
somewhere is here. I'll put it here somewhere.
and order something with the discount code MOOSE, you will get 10% off your purchase.
Yeah, enjoy the show.
Yeah, thanks for joining me after yesterday, but finally got everything back on the road and we're good to go.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Oh, I had a hydraulic issue and lost everything and kind of couldn't run the pump without the hydraulic fluid, everything being replaced. So yeah, I had to get that fixed, got everything done, and finally got home, unload, and yeah, now we're here. So it was nice. It was a long day. What's that?
Were you in the city when that happened, or were you out on the road?
I was between Swift Current and here. So yeah, it took a bit of a time to get everything fixed, and then by the time everything's unloaded, it's ends up being late. Have a shower and wash the grease off me and try to eat something. That's the main thing. I don't need to eat, but I got a lot of reserve tank, but we gotta have something in it or you get grumpy, right? So
for sure, man.
How's things been with you guys?
Pretty exciting actually. Yeah. So I don't know if you know, but in the last couple weeks here, we've actually put together, we'll call it a festival, and it's scheduled for August 7th in Bellevue here. So we've had a couple talks with CTV News and
Chamber of Commerce.
The Prince Albert Chamber of Commerce reached out. So, I mean, it's been a little exciting. Finally, people are interviewing us instead of us asking questions.
I did see actually some mention of that here. I think Kit shared it and Aspen shared it today, and it looks exciting. You have 7 Mile Sun, the Steadies, League of Wolves. I think who else is going?
Kit's coming too, but
Kids,
we don't have.
okay, awesome.
Yeah, he's not on the flyer or anything, but the idea is to have Kit playing, like, so the half hour it'll take, like, whatever it takes
Change
between
over.
sets, right? Between bands. The idea is to have Kit playing there, like filling.
Very cool. Such phenomenal musicians. Especially I know League of Wolves, and then Kit, and obviously Aspen, but phenomenal talents. I've had the pleasure of working with Aspen now for, I would say, 6 years now, or I've known him, and
wow.
recorded lots with him, but more so in the last 2 years, I guess, we really started working on stuff together. And I know we talked about that even before going on air, but it's amazing when you get to work with somebody where you don't even necessarily have to say what you are thinking. He kind of already gets it. So that's something, when you gel like that, it's an amazing thing to get in the studio and start recording.
Yeah, we noticed that when we were at Skull Creek for our on location episode a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, it hasn't aired yet, so
but it's coming.
But it's coming out there for those of you listening.
But the way Lead and Aspen work together, like they don't even talk in full sentences. It's like
just the jive and the lingo too that they use, and I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? But it's pretty cool.
And I always laugh, because we were recording some of these songs for the album and stuff, and it was kind of pushing me out of my comfort zone as a vocalist and the things that I've never done, as far as my singing. And he's like, no, just try this. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. He goes, no, just do it. And you go in there and, you kind of like, well, that feels weird, try to push up that register a bit, or try to hit this note. And then some of the notes we were laughing, like, I don't sing them that way, or haven't sang them that way. So it took me a while to wrap my head around it. And then you hear the final product, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good idea you had there, right? Like, he understands that side so well as a producer.
That must be pretty exciting that he can push you to where you're thinking of yourself, like, wow, I can do that.
Yeah, well, it gives you confidence. Kind of nerve-wracking, because I've never been like I would never consider myself amazing by any stretch, and I kind of have my thing that I've always done, and it's stuck in that vein, right? But when you're expanding a bit, there's a bit of a nerve process with it, because you're outside your comfort zone as far as a singer and a songwriter. And it's been a really rewarding experience, like working here this last year on the album, especially, and trying to do it through the COVID protocol and everything, and work around all that. And I've been very fortunate. Like, he's become one of my best friends over the past year.
Cool.
He's definitely he's good in my books for sure.
Yeah,
since we got in touch with him, I mean, I really feel like a lot of good positive things have been happening since we've been let's, for lack of a better word, call it affiliated with Aspen and Skull Creek, right? Like, it's right. Things have been just rolling smoothly. It's perfect. We were there in studio, I want to say 3 weeks ago. And I guess, spoiler alert, because the episode hasn't released yet, but for those of you listening, we had the pleasure of going there, and Prehistoric Productions were there as well, and they filmed everything for us. So it'll be like a better quality than a Zoom call, right? And Aspen and Leah created a demo on the spot that day. We were there for what, 6-8 hours?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I think, and just out of nothing, they just created something. So we got to see the process, which was amazing.
Well, it started with a voice note that Leah had on his phone the night before, and that's all.
That was the first step into it. Yeah.
Well, it's even funny, like the Prehistoric, I've worked with them now, I think 3 or 4 videos. 4 videos, I think, now altogether, including especially this last year. And then we did one about 4 years ago together. But the creative talent and growth of that company and those fellows is just amazing. Like Francois and Andrew and Brad, I've talked to them quite a bit over the last year, but just seeing their vision and their eye for stuff in shooting and how they want to portray the video, just absolutely phenomenal. And I couldn't be more happier with working with those guys.
Like your last video with that where you had Kit in there too.
Oh, dude, that video kicks so much ass.
Yeah,
I think I watched it 3 times.
I still, to this day, I get chills like when I think about that. It was that that powerful in a sense. Like, I remember we were sitting there trying to figure out what the concept we were going to use, because that song was based off of And it's not one that actually translates real well to an acoustic, but we were thinking of concepts to do with that video that would be really impactful, because it was based off the song I actually wrote or started writing here last December. I was watching Mad Max Fury Road. And there's a scene in that movie where the people, I can't remember what they're called, but they're on the mountain and they're kind of the leaders, right? And you have all these slaves down below, or commoners, peasants, whatever you want to call them. The leaders open up the taps and they let water out to all these people down below, and they're just clamoring. They're holding out these pots and pans, whatever they can catch this water in to drink. And then they shut it off, and all these people are left with nothing again. And that was the inspiration behind that whole scene, was the start of that song.
Wow.
And so I kind of was just sitting there, and I was on call with my work, and you kind of can't really go too far, and storm moving in and stuff. So I'm just sitting there and I'm kind of pacing the floor, because you're pretty much waiting for the phone call to come. You have to go out and plow snow. Like I plow snow in the wintertime, right? So you don't sleep much, or you do, it's one eye open. But I'm sitting there, I'm trying to write that, and they start strumming those chords, and I well, this sounds like a good idea. And I called Aspen, I think, was it a week or two later, and I said, we got to try to figure this out. I played it for him. He goes, yeah, we got to do this song. And working with him, and he helped co-write some of the arrangements on it and everything. And it's just absolutely powerful how it came out. It's just, I couldn't be more happier with that song. And it's a very hard-hitting subject, of course, right? We're talking about mental illness throughout that video too, and people that perhaps have lost things, and that spiral can happen to anybody. Doesn't matter who you are. Right. And I think we've all known people where that spiral of losing your job, or your divorce, or whatever it may be, that contributes to a negative decline.
For sure.
And we wanted to make, show the grim realities of it, but also letting people know that they're not alone. Mm-hmm. There's many of us out there that have had that.
Right. That video actually was, I saw it, like, wasn't it like Sask Music's video, like a couple days ago?
Yesterday they featured that on their Facebook page.
Yeah. I thought Kit portrayed that character perfectly too.
Absolutely. And another thing we talked about too is, especially I've got a lot of cousins in the US that were ex-service members and ex-armed forces, and listening to some of their stories when they came back, of their friends and fellow service members that had really rough times adjusting back to society, and PTSD and all that goes along with that environment. And those stories are very humbling, because these are very strong men and women, and you try to do the best you can and help them through listening and empathy and talking and just all that. And I've always taken a real open approach, or as best as I can with my ignorance, to understanding people and their stories and their lives. And I think that as a songwriter, something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, everybody has a story to tell, right? Like, legitimately, everybody's got a story.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing in that video too, I don't know if you can tell me, but at like the end of the video on the road, like that dirt road or whatever, where was that?
The question you would probably have to ask Brad, because I wasn't there for that scene filming. We did it in two separate parts for just because we couldn't do everything. We had to get the lighting for the B&N steel and metal shoot, and then I had to work. So then the Kit had the day off, and then the prehistoric guys and Kit did that other section.
Then the reason I'm asking too is because the episode we had with Kit came here to Bellevue, and so he was like our first in-house guest, right? Mm-hmm. And the night he came here, it was a little comical too, because like Bellevue is not exactly the easiest place to locate, right? We're like in the middle of buttfuck Saskatchewan, right? So in giving him directions, and I gave him directions, and he's like, hey, I turned here, I'm on my way. It's like, okay, just go straight, man. Like, and you're going to come right into Bellevue. I was legitimately standing on the road, like in the driveway, watching for him. And I could see the vehicle coming, and I'm like, because I'm from here, I'm like, oh, that's got to be him. Like, just time-wise, it worked out. And I see the vehicle turn into the wrong yard and like back out, and then head back out the other way. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? So I text him, and he's like, it was him and he ended up going the wrong way. And it's like, no, turn around. Like, I totally saw you. Like, so it was kind of like that. And when I saw at the end of that video, just that quick shot of that road in front of that small town, like that's kind of what this road looks like in front of Bellevue. And I was like, holy shit, like Kit legitimately was doing that a few weeks ago. Like, holy crap. Just weird, man.
Yeah, no, I'd have to ask Brad. I wasn't sure. I think it might have been around Saskatoon because they shot the capital scene and then the rest of the stuff with Kit. It was all done in an afternoon and an evening. So I'm assuming it was fairly close to Saskatoon, but I couldn't be more happier. And
it turned out so good.
I saw the first cut of that and I was just blown away. I mean, like they tell a story and it tells a story in 3 minutes and 15 seconds, right?
Right. Well, so who came up with the idea? Was that like all prehistoric who were like, hey, this is the kind of idea for the video we want to do? Or was it like a collaboration of everyone?
Well, it was semi-collaboration, but we kind of had some rough ideas and we met and talked about it. And like Francois is just absolutely brilliant as far as his cinematography and his ability to pick shots out. And same with Brad and Andrew as well. We kind of fleshed out a very vague concept of it. I remember Andrew had mentioned, this would be this, you can hear a guy going through a spiral, and I remember we talked about that. But ultimately those scenes with Kit and the whole storyline in that was pretty much their baby. And they did such an amazing job at that.
Yeah, it was a good video for sure.
Yeah.
Are
you in Saskatoon? You're in Saskatoon.
I'm in Kenniston. I'm about 40 minutes south of Saskatoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's I work here and live. I've been here about 6 years now. This little room, it's not very big, but it's where I've written everything in. And right now it needs a cleaning, so I won't show you guys the rest of it. But yeah, it's there's a lot. I spend a lot of time in here, like throughout the winters and times when I'm on call. I just kind of come in here and I got my little Mac computer and just a small little mixer board, and I strum away at my demos. I actually had an incident here about a year and a half ago where I lost about 60 songs and pieces of songs on it. And I had to get a new hard drive and stuff. Luckily, I had burnt some to CDs the old fashioned way. I know people don't even burn CDs anymore. Maybe 90s kids remember that stuff, but I had burnt it to CDs. So I had to find those CDs because I always make a backup of stuff. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, I lost a whole bunch of stuff. I had to re-download my software programs. That wasn't good.
Okay, I can't stress this enough. Get backups for your computer. And the easiest way, and this is not a plug for the company or anything, but backblaze.com. $6, $6 a month. You install it on your computer and it automatically in the background uploads everything. If whatever change you make on your computer gets uploaded. If you record a song and it goes on your hard drive, it gets uploaded to the Backblaze server.
So then when you buy a new computer, you can just like put everything on there.
You can download it from there. Or if, for example, everything blows to pieces and you don't have the funds to get a new computer yet, you can order a hard drive from them and they'll expedite it to your house. So you have the physical copy for when you do get a new computer, and then you can just copy it right away.
Oh wow! Yeah, I didn't know that either. Like that's definitely something to do. Yeah. The problem is when I first started really writing, and I just so old school, like recorded on I had a little Boss thing. Can't remember what it was called, what brand or model, but little Boss recorder. Yeah. Everything went on that hard drive, and then I would burn it. I would transfer it to computer somehow, and then I would burn it off the computer onto CD. It was just so old school method, like of the late 90s stuff. But I got to be a lot better because I haven't kept up on the technology. I'm getting to that age. I remember when I was like 20, right? You're like, you're on top of technology. Everything's just like, I know all the latest stuff. And I got pushing 40 here now. I'm like, what's TikTok? What is this? You're just so out of it. And I got to start keeping up. I'm turning into my dad here. So
yeah, exactly.
That's just it, right? Like we are turning into what our dads were 20 years ago.
Yeah, I do think my dad is still pretty up to date with technology and stuff.
Think so?
That's where I got all my techie stuff.
Oh,
side
yeah,
from.
I suppose. I would say that my dad isn't.
Yeah.
Shit, I'm not. I'm not even that up to
Well,
date. Never mind my dad, frick.
I was about to say, if your dad is techie, then you definitely didn't get that from him.
Right. I'd have to say my Instagram game is pretty kick-ass, though.
Sure.
I don't.
Yeah, see, I'm still learning how to use all the filters and all the I don't know what they're called. This is how ignorant I am on the subject, but like putting all your little things and flashing things, and you can swipe here and click on this. I'm just like, I have to get some of these younger kids like, what do I got to do here to make this work? And they're just looking at me like,
how do I make this look cool, right?
Yeah. How do I make it look cool and not look like a, like it's like I always laugh like every 75-year-old person that gets Facebook, their profile pictures taken from down here, and you can see all the stuff.
Yeah. For sure.
We will be that soon.
Oh my god.
Yeah. No, I just actually, if you guys wouldn't mind, I was actually gonna play a song for you if you wanted. I don't know how it'll transfer across.
Hell yeah. Well, we have done some through Zoom before. So just for those of you listening, like don't expect like perfection quality. It's a Zoom call, right? So but it generally comes out reasonably well.
Yeah, we'll give her a shot. I thought, hey, we're here. I got my guitar. I even tuned
yeah, man.
properly.
I'm all for it.
Sure.
I'm all for it.
Go for it.
This is obviously more a countryside one, but this is the first one Aspen and I and Grieg and Bruce Rawling recorded this. Let's call it Beautiful Kind. Is your heart like mine? Does it sink from time to time, from hanging on the line, when all you want to do is fly? Does this wild, wild world feel a little bit colder, girl, where the sails just won't unfurl, and you're laying there in the dirt? Don't get caught up in a day of sadness. Sometimes you've got to leave it all behind. And if you get lost in the sound of madness, you will always be beautiful kind. In the soft light of this room, come a little closer and groove under the beat of a harvest moon. We'll dance to our own tune. Yeah, there's one thing I should say. We got 2 tickets to LA, and no wonder what your mama will say when your bouquet flies away. Don't get caught up in a day of sadness. Sometimes you've got to leave it all behind. If you get lost in the sound of madness, you will always be beautiful kind. Don't get caught up in a day of sadness. Sometimes you got to leave it all behind. If you get lost in the sound of madness, you will always be beautiful kind.
Heck yeah, man.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. So
Sure.
before you came on, I was like reading your bio on your website, right? And it had mentioned in there how you were a poet before you turned to music, before you picked up a guitar at 19 or something. It says in there. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I used to. I don't know if I was singing actual, a accomplished poet. I used to do some poetry, just writing. The reason that came to be is I think it was in grade 11 or 12. I wrote a poem and it ended up going like through school, but it ended up going to the International Poets Society. I thought it won like third in Canada at that time. And I don't quote me. I have, my mom has all the stuff at her place. I don't have those stuff or all the plaques here and that, but that's kind of what was just a freak thing. I wrote it on the school bus one day, submitted it for the last 2 minutes before the assignment was due. And
as one does.
Yeah, in grade 11, right?
Yeah, I just like sleeping on the bus, right? The last thing you're concerned about is a poetry assignment. Anyway, what happened at the end of that year or end of that semester when I threw my books in the garbage, just like a rebellious kid, like I ain't going back to that anymore, right? Well, she must have been just like, well, I'm not letting him throw his books away. She found this poem and she submitted it for me. My mom did. And it ended up like, and all of a sudden I'm getting these letters in the mail and I'm like, how did this happen? And she's like, oh, I sent this into this poetry contest. And I'm like, oh, well, thanks. You know? So yeah, it ended up, I think it ended up going third in Canada and something like that. But that was kind of where I'm like, well, maybe I can do something with my writing. So then I, you know, kind of picked away at it for years and never really took it too serious until I started playing guitar and putting those words down to melodies. So
right, so that's what my question was going to be: the difference between writing a poem and writing a song, like lyrically, and the difference for that transition, right? Because a song isn't a poem, right? Even
no, it's not. Well, it can be, and I see. I'm a very, like, when I write songs, I rarely have the lyrics. I've only had one song that had the lyrics first, because I'm a very emotive writer. So once I feel the music, then I know what to write typically, or find what to write with that music. And that's kind of how it's always worked for me. Yeah, but yeah, poetry, I suppose the structure of it's different in a song. But I still like, there's great poet songwriters. Like you look at Jason Isbell and many of these songwriters that it's almost pure poetry, but it's done in a song format. It's hard to explain that. Maybe I'm not explaining that well, but I think there can be a little bit of a crossover, but the song structure is a little different as well.
Are artists like Jason Isbell an inspiration to you, or is just
phenomenal?
I'm me.
No, you listen to songs like Elephant or Last of My Kind, just incredible writing in those songs. And those kind of writers are hugely influential to me.
Yeah. So not
I remember listening, I was watching Charlie Rose one night and I think Jason was playing Last of My Kind just on a dobro. And I was just blown away. I'm just sitting there half asleep. I'm like, wow, no, that's something I can strive to be, you know, as a writer, because he hooks you in and he makes you feel it. And I think that's, for me, is what I've tried to emulate in my songs, especially lately, is making people feel something. And I trying to pour everything you have into your writing and into just maybe getting under the armor a bit. And I think that's important as a writer.
For sure.
Yeah, I appreciate country music. I wouldn't say I'm a country fan, but to me it's always like this song, for example, or your Highway to the Sun or something like that tell a story. That to me is country music. Yeah, if you have songs like, you know, the Blue Jeans, Tailgate, Beer, whatever.
Yeah, I'm so done with that kind of. I'm done with that.
I can't do that.
You know, and there's people that works for them and that's what they do. I know personally, like I try to view it as a growth of a writer too. And maybe my perspective is that if I get, you know, I'm able to make 65 through the grace of God or whatever, I still want to be able to go up there and not sound silly singing the songs that I sing, right? Because if I'm 65 and I'm singing about tailgates or blue jeans or, you know, it doesn't have the same thing, you know. And I would rather be respected for a good writer than more so than anything else. And to me, it's
like the old Beach Boys there up on stage still singing about California girls and
well, and you know, and that's funny. You said for some people it works. For me it doesn't work, and that's the thing. Like for my persona and who I am, so I gotta go. Like you gotta go with what you're good at, right?
And I totally understand. Like if you are, for example, a Luke Bryan, and you go to Craven and you're singing your song and the whole crowd goes wild, you're doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not what I would enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And that's you're right, because that's the beauty of music now. There is, especially in the digital social media YouTube age, there's so many people you can listen to now that aren't, you know, the market is wide open, and that is the thing, you know. That's a tough subject because a lot of people, they find their vein and they stick with it and they do it. I think you got to find what your vein is and just go with that, because if you're trying to be fake in what you're doing, it doesn't come across well. For me, it doesn't.
Well, and you have to have fun doing it too.
Absolutely.
Because that'll come across. If you're not having fun, if you're in, let's say, that vein, okay, and you're becoming successful at it, but it's not enjoyable to you, like that vein is gonna get tapped out really quick. It's not gonna last, and you're gonna crash.
Yeah, or you're doing what your record label is telling you to do.
Yeah,
you know, instead of writing your own music and be happy about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it becomes a very. Sometimes I think you can get trapped with that, right? You know, you got to look a certain way, you got to act a certain way, you got to sing a certain song, you got to market to a certain audience, and I get all of that from a business standpoint. I think, and this is just me, right? And of course, I'm still a nobody, so I'm easy to talk right now, but I think you got to stay true to who you are as an artist, because then you start getting that confliction. Is like, well, I'll do it, but I don't like doing it, and that's when you don't. You know, for me, that's the struggle, because it'd be nice to be rich and famous. People want that. I don't know if that's what I want. I just want to have a really good songwriting career. And some people want the stars and they want all that comes with that. And I can respect that too. I don't know if I want that at 39 years old anymore. I kind of just want to write really good songs that mean something at the end of the day.
That's right. Yeah.
For sure. We were talking to somebody today, I don't remember who, about like, once like corporate gets their fingers on it or in it, right? And then there's like all these non-disclosure agreements and everything, and you're limited to who you can talk to or associate with and all that. And that's just, it pigeonholes you, man. And I'm not okay with any of that. I find that there's so much more creativity and good things and positive things that can come out of, like, look at the collaboration with like Aspen and Kit and Prehistoric. Like if you were tied to a specific label, you might not have been able to do that, or there would have been like restrictions with it. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's cool because you're taking like Aspen and League of Wolves, they have their sound, and Kit and Cadillac have their sound, and I have my own. But it's nice when you can combine three somewhat different musical genres and make something out of it, right? You know, as far as like we're going to studio here on 25th to work on a song together. So you know, that to me is phenomenal when you're able to do that. You can bring in a whole bunch of different shades of creativity into a project.
Hell yeah. I love that. I love it. Like if you take Moose Fest, for example, like if corporate had their fingers in it, like we wouldn't have been fortunate enough to get those three bands. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's no freaking way in hell, man, that they would. Bellevue? Like, why are you going to Bellevue, right?
Yeah.
Money there.
Yeah, there's nobody there. There's 100 people in town. Are you kidding me? But you know what? We're gonna sell that fucking place out, man. It's gonna be 250 people.
Well, that's awesome. You know,
Mark
like
my words.
I've even said that too in regards to shows. Like, I don't play just because of my style and my sound too, but I don't play like the big bars or the clubs, right? That they want to hear a certain brand of music. They want to hear those covers that every other band plays, and that's great, but it's not what I do well, right? So I limit myself, I suppose, in a business standpoint, because I don't play those line dancing places. But I found my success is for me personally is doing a lot of backyard shows, house concerts, playing the odd bar here and there, doing it once in a while. But that's where I have more enjoyment out of that. Those backyard festivals, those kind of out of the way things, that they're not huge. They're not, like you said, not involved with corporate. It's more intimate, and I absolutely love doing that. You actually get to relate to the people a bit and talk with them, and you get to do your own stuff, and people are encouraging you to do your own stuff. That's huge.
For sure.
Yeah, you're taking the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. So when you do those, I don't know when the last time you've done anything like that. What has it been? A while?
Oh yeah, there's nothing last year.
Right.
The first one coming up here is going to be Loon Lake at the Dog Patch, and that's July 17th. First show in like a year and a half. So I have to remember exactly what I'm doing on a guitar.
Oh, that's why you want to play for us.
Yeah, this is like a good practice session, right? No, but it's you try to keep up with it when you're playing at home and just keeping up and doing recording, but it's honestly sometimes tough to get that motivation. It's like you don't know when this is ending, you don't know when we're going to be able to play again. You do keep playing, but you're like, if I could only just get out there and play a show and get that energy back, that rejuvenation, right?
Yep.
So now it's happening, and now I'm like, okay, what do I do? So keep working at it, right?
Well, yeah. So when you do play those, or when you have played those, is it you solo with like acoustically, or do you have other members coming to like fill in for drumming, or do you have a band? Like, how does that work?
I jam with a few folks here in Kenniston. We do the odd show here or there. Mostly covers, and I do throw in a couple originals, but for the majority of the shows I do solo acoustic, because my stuff has been so singer-songwriter based.
Okay.
That doing an acoustic show can really carry the singer-songwriter stuff, the storytelling, and the heavier hitting stuff. It hasn't, a lot of the last album especially hasn't typically been written with the band in mind, except for this last song. Like this last song, Highway to the Sun, that's a hell of a band song if you get going on it, right? So but the majority of the stuff has been singer-songwriter based. So I go up there and I wear my black shirt and jeans because they're usually the cleanest thing in my closet, not because it's any style. And I go up there and I play my stuff. So so far it's worked, keep going with it.
Hell yeah. So Highway to the Sun, and what was the name of the one that you played? Beautiful Kind. Those two tracks are on the newest album. Is that correct?
Yeah. We're still finishing up a few more songs on this album. It's been a slow process. Like I was hoping to have it done earlier, but with obviously working around restrictions and then trying to get everything done that way, I haven't put a huge rush on it. So we're hoping to have that done here midsummer and then release it and see what comes of it, right? Just keep picking away at it.
What kind of vibe is that album going to have? Because I feel like the Highway to the Sun is more like
those two songs are kind of different,
yeah.
Right?
It's polar opposites. This album it's gritty, it's dark, but it's beautiful. And that's going to be very confusing to people. But when you listen to all the tracks, if you listen to Wounded Kids we have a song called Whipping Boy coming out sometime later this year. Highway to the Sun, and there's a couple other songs in there that are more upbeat and happier songs, but it's a very polarizing album. It goes all the extremes because that is the truth of people. Nobody's ever one-dimensional, right? And I wanted to, through experiences in life and then stories from people, I wanted to bring a whole wide array of experiences that others have gone through, and not just every song about, like you said, drinking beer by the lake and cut off jeans. I want to show the human condition, the human experience.
Right. Is there
so when you create as a songwriter, you create an album, is it like, I don't know, like I see it as a TV show, like the first song is episode 1 and the last song is episode 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there like a storyline throughout the whole album, or are these just separate songs and you kind of line them up where it makes sense?
Different stories is called The Truth. That's like it. Wounded Kids is about and that's a very heavy song, and it's about two dysfunctional people in a toxic relationship that had toxic upbringings, abusive upbringings. So it's a very deep song. These songs aren't just surface scratching stuff. They go right to the core of who we are, and who people can be. And it's based somewhat on a true story. So that I try to tell a story in that. It's very dark, but it's also got a very positive message at the end about growth through struggle. And that, I think, is probably the main theme of all of these songs.
Right. So, okay. So when you're writing a very painful song like that, do you know at the beginning of you writing that it's going to have a positive outcome at the end, or does it just kind of flow into that?
I always try to do that as a writer, because I think it's important, and this is just my personal thing. Even if you tell a story that's very stark and it's very raw and it's very real and it's kind of sometimes maybe uncomfortable, I think it's important, and I want to do that, is where I have it positive at the end, though, where there's a message to that experience or struggle that you went through, that it made you a better person, it made you a more aware person, more understanding person. And that's where the healing begins. Perhaps that's another theme in this album too. There's a lot of healing in it.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was going to say, like, how do you, if you don't know it's going to have a positive outcome at the end, like, man, how do you not have a mental break, right? Just so much emotion putting into that. And if it's dark and like terrible, and you know what I mean? Holy man, you almost have to be like, it's going to end positively so I don't go fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, possibly. I think that's just what I try to do as a writer, because to me, it's like, especially something like Wounded Kids, I've had people reach out to me that, like, holy shit, that described exactly a relationship I had when I was in my early 20s. and now they've had to go through that proverbial minefield in those days to get where they are today, to realize the good things that are available in life, the good people and the good hearts out there. And I think that is where I try to tie that in as a writer, as a storyline. And sometimes it just comes, it just flows out. And I don't really have a great way of explaining it. I wish I was better at it. It's just, sometimes it just happens.
No, that is good. Sense. So is there, Highway to the Sun is the only video for this album so far, correct?
No, there's two others.
Sorry, the one you just played. There's the beautiful, right?
And Wounded Kids is also out too.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to listen to Wounded Kids.
Nope,
so forgive me for that, but I promise I will check that one out. Yeah.
Do you have a date set? Or
well, you said later this summer, hopefully, summer. Or this year.
It's still picking away at it, right? Like I wish I could say a certain date, but at this point I can't. It's just picking away at it when I can, working it, because I work a day job too, right? I try to balance family life and work and try to record it. If you try to make that jump at this point, it's a very, very dark cliff below you. It's like, do I take that leap and start playing full time, or do I keep working, right? So, hey, you never know, it might happen.
So when you're not playing the guitar or writing songs or hopefully playing gigs, what does Will Ardell do in his spare time?
Well, we know you push snow in the winter.
Yeah.
Well, that's not spare time.
I'll tell you though, I love snowblowing. That's been one of my favorite things I've ever done. Keeps me awake. I love it. When you get the nastiest weather, the worst storms possible, I just love going out there. I don't know why. I mean, my buddy said, maybe you're a bit of a sadist. Well, no, I don't know if I'm a sadist, but I really enjoy those environments that are harsh. I really do.
Right. So, okay, is it because of the weather, or is it just like the equipment that you're using to clear the snow that you enjoy? You know what I mean?
Like me pushing snow.
Like, I love cutting grass. I totally get the snow pushing thing. I get it, man. Like with a skid steer or a tractor or a snowblower, I get it, man. I love that shit too. And like mowing the lawn too, considering it's a good lawnmower. Has to be a good lawnmower. Fucking, I'm not doing it, right?
I think for me, it's like I like the danger aspect of it. like that it keeps me awake. I find that if I do things that are mundane, and I've always said this, the white picket fence life, it's just never been what I'm good at. And you know, wearing your dad's shoes and barbecues on Sunday, I need to find things that I really are. I wouldn't say they're different, but they're more spirit enticing. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Dad shoes.
So
never had
when
the dad
you're
shoes. That's the Velcro, the white New Balance or whatever they're called.
Okay. No, I don't have those yet.
I don't have those.
I have Crocs.
What's that Bon Jovi song? You're halfway there.
Yeah. Living on a prayer. Yep.
You are an age too, right?
Huh?
Up there.
Fuck off.
Yeah. I want to go back to the snow thing too. So when you're pushing snow, because I know how I get when I'm doing it too, where like my mind starts to wander a little bit. And do you find that like stories or ideas musically come to you when you're doing that because you're kind of like in a moment of your piece or whatever? Does that make sense?
I can't.
Or does that not happen at all?
Well, I haven't I've written a song when I've been plowing snow because it's often the concentration required at that job on the highway is pretty intense. A lot of times you're, you spend most times trying not to get hit and make sure you don't hit somebody. And that's especially at high speed and traffic and adverse conditions, ice. I don't necessarily know if I write a song while I'm doing that because then I might get distracted and the next thing you know, it's an incident. So, but
yeah, I think his snow plowing is a little bit different than yours.
Different from what I'm doing. Yeah, it could very well be.
Yeah, we do Blackstrap Hill or Blackstrap Valley here, and that can be quite a scene in the wintertime with semis jackknifing and carnage and that. So last year was, we got called out at 2 a.m. in the 1 November storm, I think. I think it was in November, around the 10th or 11th. We had that big blizzard come through, and it hammered the province, and winds were gusting, I think, to 100 and some K that night. And yeah, so you're busy the next day. But no, I can't say, getting back to your question, I can't say they were written in those environments, but it does inspire me. I mean, it obviously does in some way.
Right, for sure. Cool, man. So this song, I don't know if you can answer this neither, but the stuff that you're going to be doing in the studio with Aspen and Kit on the 25th, is that also, I think you mentioned that will be on this new album, right?
It should be, yes. Where I'm not quite sure yet at this point. We may release it as another single, but it very well could be on the album.
Right.
It's I've had this one written for quite a while. It's probably 4 years old by this point, but I just had a scratch track demo, acoustic guitar version. And we're gonna maybe try to do some different things on it. Aspen and I did record it here about a year ago, but it was just a quick recording. We thought maybe this is kind of the structure, and I listened to it a bit. We were going to change it up a bit, and I told Kit actually stopped by the house here a few weeks back, and we shot the shit for a while and played some songs and just talked about everything. And I started playing it for him, and we started, figure, hey, let's do something. He started doing a little slide guitar on. I'm like, hey, there we go. So let's get some studio time for the 25th, and here we are. So.
Nice,
sweet. That makes.
Do you have more songs to play?
Yeah, I do actually. I can do one. I can actually do Wounded Kids for you if you want. How about we do that?
Sure.
Okay. They were tempered pieces of shattered glass, broken and sharp enough to cause a scratch, drawing blood on any heart brave enough to pass. We'd sit around a table talking mental health, fucked up childhoods, and blame ourselves for the trauma or abuse we still felt. I'd get drunk and then I'd want to fight, wake up with the guilt that comes along with the morning light. If it's true love, why Inside, we were both just wounded kids. 3 days of silence from kitchen to bed, pretending to forgive for what we'd said, carrying the embers of resentment in our heads. We would cry to each other, love would carry us through, ignoring the bitter air left in the room, praying to God our love was bulletproof. I'd get drunk and then I'd wanna fight, wake up with the guilt that comes along with the morning light. It was true, love, why do I act like this? Inside, we were both just wounded kids. I ain't had a drink in 30 days. Been picking through the wreckage of the damage we create, learning how to love and how to let things go. I still got a long way to grow. I'd get drunk and then I'd wanna fight, wake up with the guilt that comes along with the morning light. If it's true, love, why do I act like this? Inside, we were both just wounded kids. We were tempered pieces of shattered glass, broken and sharp enough to cause a scratch, drawing blood on any heart brave enough to pass.
Wowzers.
Wow. Yeah.
So like I was mentioning, these songs are pretty intense from a writing standpoint, but I try to give a really descriptive mental picture of the situation and the story. So
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what's so intriguing about it is the picture that you're painting, right? You're not just
I saw this guy sitting at the table beating himself up over
Well,
what
yeah.
just happened, kind of thing.
like you're not just spitting verbal diarrhea here. Like you can see what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what's
because
intriguing.
it's a story. It's a story where they were both very insecure people, very toxic. They had troubled youth, and you get those kind of combinations together, and you throw substances in the mix, and that's just a bomb waiting to go off. And then
Right.
it becomes that very toxic environment where, okay, now everything's fine, we just won't talk about what happened. And the minute start drinking again or something, blows up, right? And that's kind of what the premise of that song is. And then finally at the end, he goes to sobriety or gets some help, and has to learn new ways to love and to treat issues that he didn't deal with.
Right. And also have to almost like relive that stuff to find out what the problem was.
Yeah.
Right. Sifting
So
through the stuff that he did in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very deep song, and that's kind of the way I write sometimes. And people look at it and go, "Holy shit!" Right? I'm like, that's the stories I create. That's what writers do, right? You try to create those stories. So
For
Yeah,
sure.
and not everything have to be bubblegum pop.
Yeah.
Right.
no, and I get it too. Like this album it's a heavier album than I've ever done, but I do write. I don't know why it's always been that I've always gravitated toward the soft underbelly. You know, the things that perhaps we don't talk about enough. And we all know stories like that. We all know people that have had or situations that are, you know, just not good, but we just don't talk about them, right? And I think there's so much strength to be gained and so much knowledge to be gained from being open and honest in the society.
Agreed.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
And I
people-
think, you know, especially the last 2 years with the pandemic and everything, and how people have felt that mental health has taken a toll. And I shouldn't even mental health, but everything has. It's been a very tough time. I think too, and I've always been a big advocate, especially in the male side of it. It's very hard for us to even mention those things at all. and it gets swept under the rug. You just tough it out, and eventually you get to the point where you can't, and that's where you're seeing a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? When I'm being tough on my son too, I'll say things like that too, like man up, or like, what, don't be a baby, don't cry about it. He's freaking 6 years old, man. Why am I being so hard on him? Let him cry. He's allowed to cry. He's 6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm guilty of it, man. I do it too. And that's how I was raised, right? So that could be that same kind of thing. I'm projecting all I know onto him, right?
It's a very interesting conversation, and I have some good friends in the medical community too that are psychiatrists and doctors of that nature, and we talk about this stuff. Like I used to be a hunting and fishing guide for many years, and I worked with one of the guys. He's now a physician, and we always have these conversations. Like, it's such a different environment than it was 50 years ago. Where it's like, you just shut up and you don't be saying a word. Like you said, don't be crying, don't be doing any of that.
You don't get to have feelings.
Yeah, you get hurt, rub some dirt on.
Yeah, absolutely. And there, I believe there is a benefit to being tough and to being mentally tough. There's absolute benefits to that. To me, that there has to be the balance, though. That's where it comes from. You can't just suppress everything in life and hope you're going to have a good reaction at the end of it. Doesn't work like that, right?
I don't want to come out sounding like I'm like abusive or hard, like that hard on my kid, but I'm just saying that there have been times where I'm like, hey, man up, like, but maybe I shouldn't have, kind of. That's all I'm saying.
I my son too, like, and he's 3.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can tell in some cases where he's just, okay, now you're asking for attention, settled out.
Right.
Oh yeah, there's a definite, like, you can tell that. I think that's what good judgment comes in, right? It's like, if you're just doing it for to receive something, it's like, well, that's not the reason why people should be doing it, right? So I'm a big believer in being tough too, and I'm mentally tough, and that's a hard thing sometimes. It takes a couple of good humbling experiences, mentally and physically, to really get that around in your head,
Right. For sure. Agreed, man.
Yeah.
So you don't live there by yourself, right? You said you've got a family there with you?
My girlfriend's in Regina, and she works out there for Pioneer, but I live in Kenniston. So yeah, it's just me and the cat. I'm surprised you haven't heard. They're the one who's fixed. She's not fixed, and she's going into heat, so I got to try to get her to the vet here pretty soon. So, making a lot of noise. It's a funny story too, because I was recording a demo here a while back. Of course, this time of the year, they're always kind of every 3 months they'll go into heat or something, right? And so I hadn't gone anywhere with her. But anyway, I was recording a demo. I was about the 3rd verse. I'm just nailing it. This is the best demo I've done. And all of a sudden I didn't hear it at the time, but I get done the song and I'm going playing it back, and I hear about the 3rd verse here in the background. I'm like, oh shit. The mic picked it up. Like, okay, now I got to redo this. Can't edit this out. It's all one take and everything. So yeah, well,
that's funny.
I assume it didn't go well with the song.
No, I wasn't quite in key. She was about a step down, so. Yeah, no, it was funny, but I wouldn't trade her for the world. So
there you go. Cool, man. Sweet. You got any other questions?
No. Good.
What do you got planned for August 7th? Please tell us you're coming to party at Moose Fest, right?
Possibly, yes. I play 31st, but that August, is it? Yeah, that's a Saturday.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know at this point. I'll double check, but I can definitely get in touch with you guys. I think Aspen actually gave me your number there, so I'll maybe just shoot you guys a text so you have mine.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
I do want to stay in touch 100%. Like, I almost want to just go freaking bombard you guys on Friday now. I know what you're doing and where you're going.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to hear what you guys are cooking up for sure, man. I grew up around country music, right? But listening to you, it was like it was, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain what it was making me feel.
Well,
like
that I think that comes back. I know what you're saying, because that comes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, there are different subgenres of country almost.
See, and I was gonna say, I gotta be honest, that's what I've always struggled with, because like a song like that, if you listen to it, it was like, well, is that country? Or, well, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't in the subject matter, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of going into areas that are a little bit helter skelter all over the map, and I love it, because that's how I'm complicated that way as a writer, and I just, like I said, I got to embrace it, because if you're doing something that it's a little bit unique, I'll take it.
Yeah,
right.
And that's actually what I like about Zach Brown. Zach Brown is, on paper, you would call him a country artist, but if you listen to his Jekyll and Hyde album, that's literally all over the map, and he did a collaboration with Maroon 5. I mean, it's not exactly country.
I think that's the real, in my opinion, like a real definition of a musician
who can do it all.
Who can do it all. And but not purposeful. Like, it's just, that's just what it is. Like for you, for example. Like,
see, it's like you said, it's not like you're having to force it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just who you are, and that's what's coming out. Is not that it's all over the map, but it's everywhere. It's all of it.
I've always been I've always been blown away. Like, here's an example of Johnny Cash, right? He always had the Johnny Cash sound, no matter what he did. But he could take a song from, you look at a band like Rusty Cage, and just make it and just kill it, and it sounds like Johnny Cash covering a heavy rock song.
Yeah.
And he makes it work, right? Those are the kind of guys I always love, because they're a bit dark, they're a bit light, they're kind of just, but they make it work.
Yeah, they're just what, like Johnny Cash is just Johnny Cash.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I get it. That's what you are. That's like, if that makes sense to anybody listening there, that's what Will is.
Well,
like
that's
Will Ardell.
That's a high compliment. I appreciate that, but that's what Aspen and I have even talked. It's like, if I go in there and try to sing the same sound, I shouldn't say the same sound, but the same type of song over and over again, I don't know if it's going to be as good for me, because I have to, as an artist, do what comes to me. And I know that can be very erratic in a sense. It's hard to market. I get that, but it works. It works for me. And I think if it works for me, I'm happy with it, then I'm okay with it. So that's kind of where I go with it.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're happy, right? For sure.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Yep.
But it makes it confusing to people sometimes. I get it. I'll go anywhere from even singing Wagon Wheel to singing Wounded Kids. So it can cause
a roller coaster.
Yeah, it can be an emotional roller coaster. So,
but I think that's not a bad thing. And as an artist, you can't please everyone. So you'll have fans that'll stick with you, for whatever song you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the reality is too, like, a lot of these songs aren't geared toward radio play, right? So they're obviously, like, Wounded Kids it's a hard sell on anything for the mainstream radio, and I understand that. That's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. But I'm actually more happy if I had one person at a show that knew my songs versus 1,000 that wanted me to play somebody else's. And I know that sounds silly, but for me, it means a lot that way.
I don't think that sounds silly at all.
No.
What sounds silly to me is like mainstream radio. Like, who the hell are they to decide what we want to listen to, or what we should or shouldn't be listening to? Like, why do they get to pick? Like, why can't, you know what I mean? That's what annoys me anyway. I'm not okay with it. I'm all like, fuck the man, and like, I do what I want and all that shit, right? So stuff like that really bothers me. Corporate stuff bothers me a lot.
And it always boils down to everything in life. It's the almighty dollar, and that's the sad reality of everything, or sad or positive, depending on how you look at it. But that's what rules everything at the end of the day.
Right.
And we have countless examples.
We're kind of trying to get away from that with Funky Moose Records. It's like, sure, I need to have food on my plate.
Yeah.
I need to make
right. But we all do, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So why should I make more than you?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But for example, Moose Fest, we're totally fine with breaking even.
Yeah. It's not about the dollar.
No.
Right.
It's just about the music and the environment and the emotion that comes with it and the celebration.
Have a good time.
And yeah, it's a party, man. That's legit.
I would definitely. I'm hoping I'll get in touch with you boys again here after the show, but I would love to come up and just see it and be part of it. And have a few beers and like talk music for a while.
Sure.
Freaking rights, man.
Yep.
Come early, because you know the guys that are playing.
Oh, so yeah.
When everyone's setting up, we can have a pre-party to the party.
A VIP.
just get the pump good and primed, eh?
Yeah, you betcha. For sure. Yeah. Hey, so I don't know if you're okay with this, but would you be willing and all right with playing one more song for us to close the show with?
Sure. I'll actually play the one, and it's another story.
Sorry to interrupt, but before you do, where can people find you?
Yes.
On social media, website, whatever.
Yeah, if you go to facebook.com/Will Ardell, youtube.com/Will Ardell, Will Ardell on Spotify, iTunes, everything. Just search Will Ardell, WILLARDELL, and everything's on there. So.
See how he spelt it out after? I keep telling that to Mark. You got to spell that shit out. Good. Yeah. Right on.
I'll play. This is off one of my first album. It's a song about my father. My father never had a chance to see me play. Like, he passed away in 2009, but he never had a chance to see me play. But I went through a period of my life in my early 20s where I drank a lot, and quite a bit, to the point of causing a lot of problems for myself and my family. My dad and mom never drank, never touched anything like that. And, I drove from Saskatoon. They were in Swift Current at the time, but whether it retired, but I drove from Saskatoon to Swift Current, and I was quite inebriated. I shouldn't have been driving that stretch at all. And this isn't obviously a good story, but I got home at like 4 a.m, and Dad was sitting in the corner chair waiting for me. And that's where this inspiration came. The next day, I kind of sobered up, and he had told me that whiskey wouldn't make me a man. So this is where the inspiration for that song came from. He was waiting for me. I came stumbling in. I could see the pain in his eyes that I'd caused again. Through the smoke of a cigarette, he raised his head to me, and I could see the teardrops running down his cheek. Said, son, I've been around for 65 long years. Buried some good men who couldn't face their fears. It's not the way he raised you. I pray you'll understand. Drinking all that whiskey never make you a man. Well, I hung my head in silence. There was nothing I could say. I wanted to take him in my arms. Pride got in the way. I'd heard a father's love was deeper than the seas. In my whiskeyed mind, his words came back to me. Said, son, I've been around 65 long years. Buried some good men who couldn't face their fears. Even though you know it won't go according to plan, realize the whiskey never make you a man. It's been 10 years now since he passed away. Yesterday I took a drive, visiting at his grave. I could feel the warm wind blowing, heard the singing of the birds. Knelt down beside him, stumbled on these words. Said that I've been around three young men of my years. I buried a good man, helped me face my fears. Even though my life ain't gone according to plan, realize the whiskey never made me a man. Don't realize the whiskey never made me a man.
You're part of the
Perfect.
Moose family now, so you're our team. So yeah,
So if I ever win that 70 mil, I'll be paying you guys too. We're all part of the family now, right? So,
Yes.
that's right. I'll be calling you up, Rick, if you win 70 mil
Like-
for sure.
yeah.